You're not lazy. You're actually one of the most ambitious people in the room. You have big dreams, big goals, big plans, but somehow nothing is happening. And deep down, you already know why. Today, we're going to fix that, but not in the way you expect. Here's what nobody tells you about ambition. There's a hidden trap that catches the smartest, most driven people first, and the more intelligent you are, the harder you fall into it. By the end of this video, you'll understand the real reason ambitious people stay stuck, why your brain is literally working against you, and the one shift that changes everything. And no, it's not about waking up at 5 a.m. Let me tell you about someone. Let's call him James, 26 years old, brilliant. He has a list of business ideas on his phone, 17 of them. He watches every productivity video on YouTube. He reads books about discipline, habits, and mindset. He knows more about success than most CEOs. But James hasn't started anything, not one thing. And every night he goes to bed thinking, tomorrow I'll start. Sound familiar? Here's the first thing you need to understand. Ambition without movement isn't ambition, it's fantasy. And your brain, your incredibly smart brain, has been turning your ambition into a very comfortable, very convincing fantasy. Let me explain how. Your brain has two systems running at the same time. One system loves the idea of success. It imagines the result, the money, the respect, the freedom. It floods your body with dopamine just from thinking about it. The second system is the one that has to actually do the work. And here's the brutal truth. Your brain gets almost the same dopamine hit from imagining success as it does from achieving it. So why would it bother with the hard part? This is called mental simulation bias, and it's not a character flaw. It's a design flaw. Your brain is doing exactly what it was built to do, seek reward with minimum effort. But in the modern world, where ideas are everywhere and information is infinite, this instinct is slowly destroying your potential. Most people think laziness is about not caring, but that's completely wrong. The laziest people are often the most ambitious because ambition gives your brain the perfect excuse. I'm not lazy, your brain says. I'm just planning. I'm just preparing. I'm just waiting for the right moment. And the right moment never comes. We'll come back to James in a minute because what happened to him next is the part that will actually change how you think. But first, let's talk about the trap inside the trap. There's something called the preparation loop. You've been in it. Maybe you're in it right now. It starts when you decide you want to do something, start a business, get fit, learn a skill, build something. The idea feels exciting, so you research it. You watch videos, you read articles, you make notes. You feel productive. You feel like you're making progress. But you're not making progress. You're making the illusion of progress. And the illusion is so convincing, so satisfying that you keep looping. More research, more planning, more getting ready, until 6 months pass and you're still exactly where you started. Here's what makes this terrifying. The more you research without acting, the more anxious you become about acting, because now you know too much. You know all the ways it could go wrong. You know how competitive it is. You know how many people have tried and failed. Knowledge without action doesn't build confidence, it builds fear. Think about it this way. Imagine learning to swim by watching YouTube videos for 3 months. After all that research, do you feel more confident jumping in the pool or more terrified? The answer is obvious, and yet this is exactly what most ambitious people do with their goals. We study instead of swim. And what happens next is the part nobody talks about. After the preparation loop comes the identity collapse. This is where it gets psychological. This is where it gets dark. After months or years of preparing but not starting, something shifts in how you see yourself. You stop calling yourself someone who's going to do something, and you start calling yourself someone who thinks about doing things. Your ambition becomes part of your personality, not your behavior. I'm the kind of person who has big ideas. And that sentence becomes a cage. Because now, starting something becomes dangerous. If you try and fail, you lose the identity. You're no longer the smart, ambitious person with potential. You're just someone who tried and failed. So your brain makes a very logical, very destructive decision. Never start. Keep the potential alive. Keep the dream safe. Stay in the preparation loop forever. This is why brilliant people spend decades on the edge of something great and never step over. James knew this feeling. He'd been in the preparation loop for 2 years. His 17 business ideas were all perfectly planned, perfectly researched, and perfectly untouched. And then, one evening, something happened that changed everything for him. His younger brother, less educated, less informed, less everything on paper, launched a small online business. Nothing fancy, just selling handmade phone cases on Instagram. It wasn't James's kind of idea. It wasn't scalable. It wasn't impressive, but it was real. It existed, and it was making money. James felt something that night that he didn't expect. Not motivation, not inspiration. He felt shame. And shame, as uncomfortable as it is, was the first honest signal his brain had sent him in years. We'll come back to what James did next, but first, let's talk about the actual solution, because it's not what the productivity world is selling you. Every productivity guru will tell you the same things. Build a morning routine, use a to-do list, block your time, set smart goals. And these things are not wrong, but they're solving the wrong problem. You don't have a productivity problem. You have a permission problem. You are waiting, consciously or not, for someone or something to give you permission to start. Permission to not be perfect, permission to be a beginner, permission to take up space in a world that already has people doing what you want to do. And here's the ugly truth. That permission is never coming. Nobody's going to hand it to you. Not your parents, not your boss, not a YouTube video, not even this one. You have to steal it. You have to take it without asking. And the way you take it is by doing something so small, so embarrassingly small that your brain cannot argue against it. This is the principle of minimum viable action. Not minimum viable product, minimum viable action. The single smallest step that moves you from thinking to doing. Not the first chapter of your book, 1 paragraph. Not a full workout, 10 push-ups. Not a business plan, 1 message to 1 potential customer. The size of the action does not matter. The crossing of the line matters. Because every time you cross that line, every time you move from planning to doing, you rewire something in your brain. You build what neuroscientists call execution identity, the self-image of someone who acts. And here's what's fascinating about this. The brain cannot tell the difference between a small action and a large one in terms of identity formation. Writing 1 paragraph tells your brain the same story as writing 1 chapter. The story is, I'm someone who writes. Going for a 10-minute walk tells your brain, I am someone who exercises. Sending 1 cold email tells your brain, I'm someone who builds things. And once that story exists, once that identity is planted, the brain starts protecting it because the brain is obsessed with being consistent with its own self-image. Suddenly, doing the work stops being a fight. It becomes who you are. But there's one more thing blocking you, and this one is subtle. This one hides behind intelligence. It's called the complexity trap. Smart people love complexity. They love nuanced frameworks, layered strategies, multi-step systems, because complexity feels like sophistication. Complexity feels like seriousness. But in the early stages of any goal, complexity is the enemy. It gives you too many decisions to make before you even start. And every extra decision is another chance for your brain to say, not yet. The most successful early moves are almost always embarrassingly simple. The first version of Google was a research project that only searched Stanford's website. The first version of Amazon only sold books. The first version of you becoming who you want to be only needs to do one thing. One thing done today that wasn't done yesterday. That's it. That's the whole strategy for week 1. Now, let's go back to James, because the night his younger brother launched that small business, something clicked. Not a strategy, not a plan, just a question. He asked himself, what is the one thing I could do tomorrow that I keep saying I'll do someday? He didn't think about scaling it, he didn't think about competition, he didn't think about failure. Just, what is the one thing? And the answer came immediately. He'd always wanted to start a finance page on Instagram, just sharing things he already knew about money. He'd been planning it for 8 months. The next morning, before he could think too much, he posted 1 graphic. 1. It had 11 likes. His mom was one of them. But he crossed the line.
He became someone who had started, and that was everything. 6 months later, his page had 4,000 followers.
Not viral, not famous, but real, breathing, growing, and most importantly, no longer living only in his head. Here's the big reveal. The thing ambitious people are really afraid of isn't failure. Everyone says that, but it goes deeper. What you're really afraid of is finding out who you are when you try your hardest and it's still not enough. Because right now, in the preparation loop, your potential is infinite. You haven't been tested yet. The dream is still perfect, and starting means risking the dream. But here's what nobody tells you. A tested, imperfect, real version of you is worth infinitely more than an untested, perfect version that only exists in your imagination. The person who shipped something ugly is closer to greatness than the person who perfected something invisible. Your ambition is not the problem. Your ambition is the fuel. The problem is that you've been using it to power a very comfortable waiting room, and the exit from that waiting room is not motivation. Motivation comes and goes. The exit is a single, irreversible, embarrassingly small action taken before you feel ready. Because you will never feel ready. Ready is a lie your brain tells you to keep you safe. And safe, in the context of your potential, is the most dangerous place you can be. So here's what you're going to do. Not tomorrow, today. In the next hour, if possible. You're going to think of the one goal you keep putting off, the one thing that lives rent-free in your head at 2 a.m., and you're going to do the smallest possible version of the first step. Don't plan the whole journey. Don't research for another hour. Just move the line. Cross it. Become the person who started. Because that person has access to a future that the person still waiting does not. Ambition is not enough, but ambition plus one small move made today is the beginning of everything. If this video showed you something about yourself, something you recognized, share it with someone else who's stuck in the waiting room. And if you want to keep going, keep building the kind of mindset that actually creates results, Albert has more waiting for you. The next video is already there. You just have to start watching.